Hey millionaire, we all know there are 1,000 ways to get rich in life. Some of them can be so surreal that they end up being the inspiration for a movie. In this video, we're going over the incredible story of Phyllis Penzo, who received a $3 million tip due to fortune, coincidence, and kindness. We'll also review some important lessons that we can learn from the story that will change your life forever. This story is definitely something special, so let's dive right in. Let's start with the question. How did a pizzeria waitress earn a $3 million tip? We all know the importance of tipping after receiving good service. In the end, tips are what makes the majority of an income for someone waiting tables. So when you're generous, most of them are very grateful. Some people, however, decide to take this moral obligation more seriously than others by aiming to reward their servers in a bigger way. Fortunately for Phyllis Penzo, she was lucky enough to serve the right table before this future millionaire decided to give her the best tip of her entire career. In 1984, New York City detective Robert Cunningham was dining at Sal's Pizzeria in Yonkers, New York, when he suggested that his waitress and longtime friend, Phyllis Penzo, split a lottery ticket with him instead of tipping her for her services. He promised her that he would share his winnings with her 50-50 if he won. Although Robert was kind of joking, it didn't take Phyllis more than a few seconds to agree, as the prospect of becoming a millionaire was far more tempting than spending the rest of her life living paycheck to paycheck and depending on the generosity of her clients. The idea was so attractive to Phyllis that she even helped Robert choose the numbers then and there. After helping Robert pick out the numbers and retiring home, she received a mysterious call at 9 a.m. that changed her life forever. The call came from none other than Robert, who shared with her the most important news she had ever received in her life. They had just won an incredible $6 million jackpot and became millionaires. Now, here's an important fact. While most people would be suspicious when receiving a call from one of their oldest friends claiming they just won the lottery, Phyllis had twice as much reason to be suspicious. She received the call the morning of April Fool's Day. Who wouldn't think this was just an innocent joke? So Phyllis refused to believe Robert, since she wasn't going to fall for it. After Robert insisted and convinced her that he really had won the grand prize and would share it with her, Phyllis let out a cry of excitement so loud that it woke her husband up. When her husband heard the news, even he couldn't believe what had just happened to them. They had become the richest couple in their neighborhood in just a few moments. But the story doesn't end there. It's just getting started. Make sure you subscribe to the channel to attract good fortune if you haven't done so already. Let's move on. After splitting the money, Robert and Phyllis took home $3 million each, choosing the annuity instead of the lump sum entitled each of them to receive a little over $142,000 a year for 21 years. And through a shadow of kindness and loyalty, Robert changed Phyllis's life forever. According to Robert, who was a 30-year veteran police officer with a salary of $30,000 a year, he never considered keeping all the money for himself. He considered himself a simple person, always true to his word, so that occasion was to be no different. Robert and Phyllis's story serves as an inspiration for the movie It Could Happen to You, a film in which cop Charlie, played by Nicolas Cage, and waitress Yvonne are married to unbearable and self-centered people and find comfort in each other to cope with their terrible personal lives. Although you can imagine how the story ends, the couple in the movie ended up divorcing their partners to get married and live happily ever after. Of course, this last part of the story is pure fiction. In real life, Robert and Phyllis were never a couple. Although, after 15 years of friendship, we can't rule out the possibility that at some point they had some feelings towards each other. By the time they both became multimillionaires, they were already happily married and living a good normal life. Robert used his winnings to expand the home he lived in with his family, as he was living with his in-laws. He made the necessary renovations to the property so that each household member could live comfortably without everyone being cramped in one place. On the other hand, Phyllis, who was much more prepared to spend her money, immediately invested in a new house and bought new cars for her family. She also took the opportunity to travel, since her small salary no longer limited her to go around the world. Although both claimed the lottery didn't drastically change their lives, their incredible luck allowed them to live more comfortably without worrying about being tight on money again. One of the mistakes many millionaires make when they receive a large fortune after becoming lottery winners is that they end up spending their money on unnecessary things instead of using their wealth to live comfortably until the end of their lives. If you become a millionaire tomorrow and used all your money to buy a big mansion, luxury cars, and bathe in $100 bottles of champagne, that fixed amount of money would go by real fast trying to maintain that lifestyle. The story of Robert and Phyllis is an excellent example of how two people from humble origins who did not have a single penny in their wallets or financial knowledge knew how to manage their fortune to live in the best way possible. Of course, this story leaves us with great lessons that could be life-changing the day you become rich and even help you not to miss the chance to become a millionaire. So keep watching. What lessons can we learn from the story of Robert and Phyllis? Before we get into financial lessons, there is one big thing I think we can take away from this story: the importance of friendship and being true to our word. Being true to your word is extremely important to close incredible deals in the business world. However, our loyalty to our friends have a much deeper meaning than making a few $1,000,000. It's about living with yourself, knowing that you've done the right things. If you have trouble keeping your word or being loyal to your loved ones, life will punish you, but you will succumb to the psychological burden of having hurt the people you care about. Imagine how Robert would have felt if he knew he had betrayed his oldest friend. He would feel the burden every time he used his money. Of course, this story also teaches us another lesson: to be careful who you choose to share a lottery ticket with. While we would love for every person to be like Robert, the truth is that many people would have decided to take the money and lose a friend, abandoning their integrity in their quest to become a little richer. Suppose you want to keep your friendships without dealing with the possibility that by winning the lottery, the person who should have shared their winnings with you will appropriate your winnings. In that case, I suggest you buy your own ticket to avoid future problems. Of course, you would not necessarily have to listen to this advice, since each person is free to do with their money whatever they wish. However, I think it might help you save yourself a few headaches in the future. And finally, the last piece of advice I have to offer is to use your money wisely. Robert and Phyllis were able to enjoy their fortune because they knew how to manage it. Choosing to collect their prize and annual payments helped them by allowing them to receive a sum of $140,000 each for more than 2 decades. They didn't have the money or the means to buy a large mansion in the Caribbean the day after they collected their first payment. Of course, this doesn't mean that collecting all your winnings in one lump sum is no better than receiving them in annual payments. In the end, different circumstances dictate what's better for you at the moment of your win. However, the key to surviving the temptation of having $3 million in your bank account and not ending up spending them on necessities lies in developing your financial and emotional intelligence from an early age. One way to do that is by watching the videos we have on other lottery winners, their mistakes, and what they've done right. Reading books that can help you enrich your financial knowledge is also a great way to improve your financial IQ. Robert and Phyllis' story is a clear example of how sometimes reality can surpass fiction. And who knows, maybe if you stay true to your principles and are kind to people around you, you can become the next millionaire due to a quirk of fate. What would you do if you suddenly received $3 million due to the generosity of others? Let us know in the comments below.